In today's video, I'll be showing you how to build this automatic farm that makes copper, gold, zinc, and iron using the Create mod with an add-on called Create Ultimate Factory, which I'll link in the description. For this build, we'll need a 14 by 11 block area, and this is everything we'll need for this build. So to get the gold, copper, zinc, and iron nuggets, we'll be crushing tuff. And to get the tuff, we'll be using this recipe from Create Ultimate Factory, which allows you to mix 9 cobblestone and 50 millibuckets of water to make 1 piece of tuff. And I believe there's actually a version of Create Ultimate Factory where instead of this using 50 millibuckets of water, it uses 50 millibuckets of lava, so you may have to replace that water that we get with lava if your recipe has lava instead of water. But other than that, all of the recipes should be the same. First, we'll need to place down a 3 by 3 by 9 block going from here all the way over to here. Then we'll place 27 hoppers on each of the top faces of this vault. And on top of each of the hoppers, we'll place a windmill sail frame. And you'll want to make sure that this is a frame and not the full sail. Otherwise, items won't be able to drop through this hole in the middle. And once you've done that, we'll need to place mechanical pumps facing down into all of these windmill sail frames. And if you don't know how this works, this is going to be what generates our cobblestone. And then we'll also need to place 3 3x3 fluid tanks on top of each of these mechanical pumps. And we'll need to fill these with lava. And to do that, if you're in creative mode, you can just right click on the fluid tank and it will fill it with lava if you have lava bucket in your hand. Or you may need to do something like this where you put a mechanical pump down with your large cogwheel next to it and an item drain on top. Then you put your lava in the item drain and spin this hand crank until it all goes into this fluid tank. And then you can repeat this process with the rest of the fluid tanks. And once you fill this up with lava, you'll never actually need to fill it up again, since we need lava in these fluid tanks for this to work, but it never actually uses up the lava that's inside. And I don't exactly know why it doesn't use up the lava, but I do know that if you don't use windmill sail frames here and you use something else, then it is going to use up that lava. And we'll also want to cover all of this up either with glass or really any block you want. I'll just do these smooth stone pillars in the corner and then framed glass so you can see inside. And this is actually because we'll be having water on these fluid pumps, and that water is actually going to start flowing out if we don't give it a way to not do that. And it also makes it to where if a hopper doesn't catch a piece of cobblestone, it's not going to be able to hop out of the system before the hopper can catch it. And I am just now realizing that I need to put water in these mechanical pumps, which means that I'm going to need to break out a few of these fluid tanks, but it hopefully shouldn't remove the lava inside of them. So if you just place water on these two sides here, it will make this middle part an infinite source, and then we can just remove all of this, waterlog like this, and then we fill every other mechanical pump with water, and that will fill up this whole thing with water completely. And then you'll be able to fill your fluid tanks back in, and you might have it like I do here where 2 buckets got into this fluid tank, so you might just have to add lava back into this one. But this won't be affected if it has more than 1 bucket of lava. Then we can place down a block here and break the 2 blocks above it, unless this top block is already a non-transparent block that can pass a redstone signal through. Then we'll place a rail there with a cart assembler on top and a minecart inside. Then you can place a redstone link or a lever or whatever it is that can hold a constant redstone signal on the side of this block that is not transparent. Then you should be able to hit this lever and it should start picking itself up and placing it down. And once we get these mechanical pumps to start spinning, it is actually going to pump out lava onto this water and make cobblestone. which will then be broken when this thing sits itself back down, and it will go into this vault. And we can turn this off for now. Next, we'll need to get these 4 mechanical presses that will compact our cobblestone and water into tuff. And to do that, we'll place down 3 fluid pipes here with the basins on top and mechanical presses facing this way so that all of their shafts are in line. Then we'll place down 6 shafts like this and connect them all up with belts. And we'll also need to put andesite funnels so the items can go from this belt into this basin. And to split the cobblestone between these 3 belts, we can place down 3 brass tunnels like this. And we'll also need to place down a brass funnel here to output everything from this vault to the brass tunnel. And to give these mechanical presses power, we'll place down 3 encased chain drives like this, with a large cogwheel and rotation speed controller, which we'll set to 224 RPM. And if you wanted, you could make this whole system 256 RPM, but for this video, I'll be using rotation speed controllers to get all of the things that need to spin down to the minimum RPM they need to work. And 224 happens to be what we need these mechanical presses to be at. And we'll also want to set these basins to only make tuff, because if one of these basins happens to get 4 pieces of tuff in it at once, then it could want to make tuff bricks or something like that, which is not what we want. And with this recipe filter, it will not make those. So we'll also need to place out brass funnels that only output tuff as well. Then we'll need a 6-block long mechanical belt. And technically you could not put a brass funnel on here and just let this basin output with this funnel, but this will only actually output 1 item at a time. And since we'll be using crushing wheels, that'll be super inefficient and it could slow this whole process down significantly. So that's why I'll be using brass funnels here. And we can also place a shaft on this belt with 2 gearboxes that are vertical and place down our crushing wheels on top. Then we can place down a block on the end with another compacting basin, and we'll want the mechanical press to face this way, and we'll also need an input andesite funnel, as well as anything that you can use to disintegrate items here, and an output funnel here with the flint, since we don't need this flint at all. And the final thing we'll need to do is place a 2-block long mechanical belt with a smooth stone on the side, or whatever block you want. And then we'll also need to place 4 more blocks like this with a 2x2x4 item vault on top, which we can then place 4 chests like this, or double chests rather, with 4 chutes on top, not like that, and then 4 brass funnels to output. And then you can put each of these ingots to output in whichever order you want. And finally, we'll need an input andesite funnel and an output brass funnel here, which we will need a list filter to filter this to only output the ingots. Then we'll need to place down 4 fluid pipes here with our final mechanical pump like this, facing this way, and put an infinite water source like that. And now to rig everything up to power, we'll need to place down a rotation speed controller here, set to 24 RPM. Then we'll need 2 encased chain drives with another rotation speed controller, but this one will set to 128 RPM, and it should be counterclockwise, but if everything starts spinning backwards, you can just spin this clockwise instead. And I didn't mention this yet, but with these 2 rotation speed controllers, it doesn't matter which direction they're rotating as long as they have the correct RPM, since they're only powering mechanical presses. Then we'll need to break out these 2 blocks and place a cogwheel here with a vertical gearbox above. And on the side of that gearbox, a large cogwheel with a rotation speed controller connected to it, which we'll set to 1 RPM. Then we'll need a water wheel on the side of it, and we'll need to surround it in copycat panels, or blocks if you prefer, but I think copycat panels look nicer. And this will keep the water from flowing out, which we'll place on top. And this whole system will get all of those pumps spinning. And I said to put a shaft in this belt earlier, but we don't need one in the middle, so you can just remove that, and instead we'll need to place down 2 shafts here with 1 gearbox like this, as well as a cogwheel to give this pump power. And this one pump will have enough water to power these basins indefinitely, since they only need 50 millibuckets of water with each piece of tuff they make. And to give this belt power, we can't place a gearbox here since it'll make it spin the wrong direction. So what we have to do is break out these blocks and place down 2 encased drives like that, with 2 more like that. So what's happening here is this belt spins this encased chain drive, which goes down to here, which powers this one, which powers this one, which powers this belt, in the correct direction, of course. So now all we need to do is give any speed of rotation to this shaft specifically. So if you already have a system with power in it that you want to connect this to, you can just connect it here. And this should only cost 8,128 stress units with everything combined. Or you could use a maxed out windmill with 128 sails, or half a stack of water wheels, and I'll show you how you can place down all of those water wheels in this little space here. So first we'll need to place down encased chain drives all the way up to the top of this little tower, whatever you want to call this thing, cobblestone generator, I guess. And we'll need to place down 4 encased chain drives every other block. So we'll need to remove these 4 and replace with encased chain drives. And we'll also need to remove the top and replace it. And as I was saying, we need to place down 8 water wheels back from each of these end encased chain drives. Then we'll need to get up here and place down a couple of copycat panels on the backs of the water wheels so water doesn't flow off this back side. Then we'll need to dig this down 1 block. And if you don't have blocks on this side, the water will flow out. If you know, you could just dig this down an extra block if you don't want to put blocks on this side. Then we can place down our water up here. And once all of this flows down, it should start spinning. And it seems that everything is spinning backwards, and if that happens to you, you just need to reverse the direction of this controller's rotation. So now we can see that everything is spinning correctly, except for this belt. So maybe this does mean that we can place a gearbox here. No, it doesn't. I mean, this worked when I was testing this build. Don't know why it's going backwards. So if this is going backwards for you, let me think of a quick solution. So all I can come up with is place down 3 vertical gearboxes like this, and then use encased chain drives to connect like this. Make sure that this shaft does not connect to the middle encased chain drive, and then connect them up like this. But obviously you don't need to worry about this if your belt was already spinning the correct direction. So now we should be able to flick this lever and this whole system should turn on, and we should see cobblestone being made into tuff. And if your tuff isn't outputting, that's because these crushing wheels just take a little bit of time to crush everything. But the more tuff you have in a single stack, the slower it might go. I think it only gets slower in increments of 16, so pretty much crushing 1 tuff will take the same time as crushing 16. So this will never actually fill up with tuff completely. But now we should be able to see that nuggets are going in here, and we got ingots being made. And as you can see, we already have 1 iron, copper, and gold ingot. And we can also see that flint is dropping out of there, which means that this whole system is working properly. This is the finished build. Don't forget to leave a comment down below with what you would like to see in the next video. And while you're down there, I would really appreciate it if you hit that like and subscribe button. Become a member if you want to help support the channel even more. And if you haven't seen my new Create Mod Survival series, you should definitely check it out by clicking on that playlist you see on screen. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.